Hello, it's day 4 of Vlogmas, and today I come to you with a very, very partial bit of a tag, the Nonfiction on Booktube tag, created by Olive over at abookolive. It's all about nonfiction, this tag. It was for Nonfiction November, so of course I'm doing it in December after all the people who actually read nonfiction have actually done the tag. I read like about somewhere between 15 to 25% nonfiction of my kind of pathetic little, output of reading during the year. But the one question that I found like was really interesting to me is number 5. What do you think keeps people from wanting to read more nonfiction? And I think Olive has really good points on her original video, which of course I'll link down below too, of saying that, it's one of those things of people, like, when they're growing up in that formative time, they're given like maybe beloved classics of fiction to read, which they kind of really latch onto, and it kind of helps them build kind of a habit to reading fiction. But a lot of the nonfiction you get in schools is very dry, very textbooky kind of stuff, kind of like the worst of the nonfiction. It's the most functional, the most dry, the most sort of distant from its subject. Now, I would argue with that because I would say my love of fiction comes from my own personal reading and probably from my encouragement of kind of my parents. It's like I became a reader far before school, and also I was way more enjoying my reading that versus the kind of, especially as a Canadian, it's like it's some kind of desperate family on the prairies, and it's winter and they're all dying. It's like this was not the kind of literature that was going to make fiction readers, much less the nonfiction readers with all our textbooks. So I'd say that's a first thing. And indeed, I think about, like, the nonfiction that I do read, and it probably kind of is a lot of history books, which is what I saw my father devour, was kind of nonfiction books on World War II. He came from the UK and, kind of grew, he was a child during that stuff. And that was the kind of the area that really kind of obsessed him, which I've never really cracked that myself yet. If I do, I guess I'll see as I age through what will be the nonfiction that really, I kind of gets me. Now, the other thing that I would say with nonfiction is that I wonder if the reason that more people don't read nonfiction is because people still kind of cling to that idea that if I read it in a book, it's true. And when they come to nonfiction, while there's a lot of it that is written very rigorously by historians, there's also a lot of nonfiction that isn't true, or isn't just like, these are facts. I think people maybe, I get the sense that people kind of get that idea of like, oh, well, if I read it in a nonfiction book, it must be a fact, where it's a lot more slippery than that, and a lot more challenging than that, which is one of the joys of nonfiction. But it can be also one of the things I think that might put people off of nonfiction, is that a lot of times you get into nonfiction, and even in like the best cases where you'll have somebody who's like really trying to rigorously present the truth, but they're also kind of trying to present a thesis of how they see, this is how I think things happened, because we can never really, really be sure of what things happen. And even like first person accounts of people saying, well, this is what I saw happen. It's like, well, you saw it happen from your point of view, and you didn't see it from everybody else's point of view. I mean, you just go to a trial or something where you have different varying witness accounts of something that happened, and they can really vary. And that's one of the challenges of is to kind of try and put things together to try and come up with a more global truth, more global account of what happened. And I mean, I think half the battles in history books seem to be and it's fun battles is historians arguing like, well, we thought it happened this way, but now there's new historians that are the revisionist historians that are going to do it, who've decided it's going to be a different way. And if you're coming to those books where you're thinking, oh, well, this has got the facts, this has got the truth, well, then that's going to be either it's going to be disconcerting, or it's going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to need to read a ton of books to understand something. And coming as a person who, I don't read that many books a year in comparison to Olive or, Steve. Well, God, no one reads as much as Steve Donahue. But so it's like, if I read one history book on one subject during a year, that's pretty good for me. And that by the next time I get around to the next book, it's like, well, okay, do I still want to read on the same subject? Maybe I'm really interested in it. So I pick up that one, and then I'm like struggling to try and remember, well, what did the first book say? And like, how do they play off of each other? It can be a little bit daunting. It's still fun. It's still fun. But it can be daunting, and I can see a lot of people going, well, you know what? I'm gonna pick up my fiction book and get that good story, and I don't have to worry about it whether it's the truth or not, because it's all lies. It's all made up fairyland stories. Now, this is excluding, of course, high literary fiction, which can be as much of a grueling slog as the most dense nonfiction, though. As with the most dense nonfiction, it can also be highly rewarding that way. But I guess I'm talking as somebody who's like, I've just come home from a really long shift. I want to sit down and read and just relax. It's like, now there's the other side of things, because I think I gravitate towards more what might be seen as kind of dry, serious nonfiction books, because I find the more you get into popular books, the more you get into the entertaining bullshit category of nonfiction. Someone like Malcolm Gladwell, a lot of his books, fellow Canadian, I can diss him all I want, is definitely a purveyor of the entertaining bullshit. He'll take some kind of lovely little anecdotes and kind of stitch them together for whatever kind of theory he's come up with this week, what entertaining theory he's come up this week. It's kind of truthiness. It's you shouldn't be basing I think you shouldn't be basing kind of like, oh, this is how the world actually works on books like that. They're entertaining, they're fun, but they're less nonfiction-y, they're less truthy than other books, I guess. There's the gradations of nonfiction. There's hard nonfiction where everything is footnoted. We've got documentation. And even on that, you'll find historians are all kind of debating and interpreting how, some certain battle happened, or, what was the actual effects of the Industrial Revolution, and when did it actually start, and who there's always all these wonderful debates. There's still stuff, but then you get kind of softer and softer here, where it's entertaining bullshit, which is fine. And I like to be entertained as much as the next person. But, this is where it's the muddy waters, which is both a good thing, why I love nonfiction. If I can, I'll slip in a little bit of question number 6, why I love nonfiction, but also why I think maybe other people, and even myself, when I come home and I'm tired, it's like, look, I don't want to have a debate. I just want to have a story. I want to have a made up story that I don't have to, I can engage with on that level, but I don't have to kind of go with, oh, well, but this author said this, and this author said this, and like, it's all been written by old white guys, but now we have like new, like we have to have a female perspective, or we have gay and lesbian perspectives coming in, and, which is actually, see, now I'm making arguments for why I love nonfiction again, but this is the whole complicated mishmash. So, oh God, this is now over 10 minutes. I failed, but screw it. I'm just going to put this out anyways. All right. More videos later.